Mr. Beak's math class. Mr. Beak's math class. Yeah! Woo!
All right, everybody, welcome. It's me, Mr. Beak, your math host for today. We are going to be solving 2.5, solving and inequalities, all right? So hopefully by the end of the day, you have a comfortable understanding of I can solve and problems with inequalities. Just so you know, it's an important standard, all right? As always, we want to be able to rate ourselves and gauge our level of understanding, and hopefully we're at a 3 or a 4, which would be like a strong working knowledge where you don't make many mistakes, and that you could maybe even teach or explain it to someone, right? Maybe try telling it to your mom, right? All right, so here's the big takeaway for this one. The and inequalities, we're going to always follow a simple and straightforward pattern. It will be the small number followed by that sign, followed by x, followed by that sign, followed by the big number. Okay? Something to visually take away. Look, both things are opening to the right, right? Both mouths are opening to the right. It's always going to be that way. And then just different numbers over here, right? So if you can remember that pattern, maybe write it down on the top of your paper, maybe write it down at the top of your, test or quiz when you get that. It's always going to be that thing, which makes it simpler and easy, okay? Hey, look at that. I put it right there for you, just to be nice. All right. This is the first half of compound inequalities. We're going to break up 2.5 into kind of two different sections, and today we're just doing the and ones, okay? But what a compound inequality is it's two inequalities and they're joined by the and or the or. So for example, this is what we're going to be dealing with today. You see that sign that we just said? Small number, that sign, x, that sign, big number, right? In the next lesson, we'll talk about the or ones, okay? So for the compound inequalities, another way to say it, low number, large number, but we're going to basically, look at it something like that, okay? We want to graph this compound inequality. And I'm going to put it on this thing. So it's kind of like two separate ones. Let me maybe actually do a little this thing here, okay? So you're just looking at this inequality right there. It says -3 is less than x. First off, reminder, if I have these signs, it's an open circle facing a certain way. And if I have the less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, it's a closed circle. So if you have to graph just that one, well, hey, it's just that one sign. That means right at -3, it's an open circle. And it says x is bigger than that. That means I'm heading that way, right? That would be the complete graph for that one, okay? Well, let me block it the other way and say, hey, if you just had, let me kind of erase that stuff now. If you just had this, x is less than or equal to 2, we would know this is that. Oh, wait, it's a filled in circle because it's a or equal to. It says x is less than. That would mean it's heading this way. So now if I get rid of both of them, let me X out of that, this is a compound one. It means, hey, we got both of those on the same one. Well, guess what? It's going to be all those answers in between, not just where I drew those arrows. But anything that's in between those numbers is covered from that graph right there. Okay? It's going to turn out every single and graph, so every one for today is going to look like this. You just might have a filled in dot or open dot, some combination of that, but they're all going to look something like that. Okay? So let's do this next one here. It says, let's graph that guy. All right? So let me block this one first. If I just had 0 is less than D, that would be, I'm going to just draw my own because you'll have to anyways. This one, we want to put the small number down there and the big number out here, which looks like in that case is a 10. I'll just cheat and start with that. But this one says, hey, I got an open circle right at 0, and it says D is bigger than it, so it's heading that way. That would be a correct graph on that one. Now if I block this first half, and I just said D is less than 10, well that would tell me it's an open circle, headed that way. Turns out that's my answer. It's all the numbers that are in between 0 and 10. Okay? So what would an example be? 5, 2, 1.6387, right? I mean, a million, there's infinite amount of numbers that are in here. There's infinite amount, but they're all covered just by that simple graph that looks like that. Okay? Mine's a little obviously messy and all over the place, but I'm just getting my point across. All right, so now what we're gonna have to do though is solve them and then graph them. So keep in mind, all of our graphs are going to look like the two I just drew. They're gonna all just be, you know, stuff that's meeting in the middle. It's gonna be something like that. Okay? Well, you might have a little trouble looking at this letter A and being like, well, there's like 2 signs in there and there's numbers all over the place. Well, let's just make it easier on ourselves and let's just block one of those. And if I just gave you this problem, right? Well, if I just did that, that's not too tough, right? There's a line there, seems to be right here. How would we get x all by itself? Well, I would add 4, right? And you would add 4. And then therefore I'm going to get -3 out here. And the sign in that case is going to stay the same, right? Because we didn't multiply or divide by a negative. And so that would be the answer. Okay? Well, guess what? There's a second half to this problem. Let me just unveil it right there. If you had that problem, well, you would do the same thing. You would add 4 to this side and to that side. And we would get, what would we get? 5, right? And the sign, it didn't change because I just added 4. So you would just get that simple problem. Well, that's all this is going to be, is it's going to be 2 of those simple problems smushed together. Okay? So that is the entire problem, just explained in 2 different pieces. There's our answer. Any number in between -3 and 5 is going to be one that works. So a quick graph on that. The important numbers are -3, the small number, and then the big number. Okay? This -3 happens to have a filled in circle, a closed circle, and this 5 happens to have an open circle, and it's all the numbers that are in between. That would be a complete answer. Do you see how I showed my work? Oh, in this case there's 3 sides, but I showed it to all 3 sides. Got my answer, got my graph. I'm happy with the result because it means I got 100% on it and I'm kicking butt. Okay? Let's erase that. Let's do a next one. Now that we know that it's really just 2 small problems smushed together, I'm going to just do this all at once. Okay? So if I just had this problem, I would draw a line. And if I just had the other problem, I would draw a line. I'm just going to do that right off the bat right now and just, hey, I want to get my x all by itself. I know it's going to be in the middle, and I know the signs are going to be faced a certain way. What would we do to solve x all by itself here first? Well, I would -4. So I'm going to show that to this side. I'm also going to show it to this side and also show it to that side because I have 3 sides now that all need to get that -4. When I do that, now it becomes the number -3. This is 3x. This is 9. Right? Well, what would my next step be in getting that 3 times x all by itself? It would be a divided by 3. So I'm going to do that to all 3 sides, and I get what I get. In this case, I get -1. In this case, I get 3. Now, did my signs flip? No, because I times, in this case, by a positive number. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is my answer. Okay? And so, real quick graph on that. We show the important one on the left, and on the right, that's 2 small and big. These ones happen to both be open circles, and they're meeting right in the middle. Every graph on these and ones will look exactly like that. just different, some might have a closed circle, but they're all going to be small number, big number, stuff meeting in the middle. All right, let's skip to number 3. Okay, so like I said, what I do is I draw the lines down for both of those because my final goal is to get that x all by itself. So when I do that, I need to get rid of this -6 first by adding 6. Well, I can't just do it to the one side. I have to do it to all 3 sides. And so when I do that, now that gives me 30, gives me 3x, and it gives me 42. Now it's looking easier. Now I do 3 times x, well, I'm going to divide by 3. Divide by 3, divide by 3. And I'm going to end up with 10. I think that's going to be 12, right? No, that's not 12. What is 42 divided by 3? 30 divided by 3 is 10. 12 divided by 3, oh, I was right. Second guessing myself, look at that. 3 times 12, 36. 14, it's 14. I'm not using a calculator, sorry for that mistake there. I should have just checked with the calculator, but sometimes these videos, they add some pressure. All right, we got less than or equal to. I divided by a +3, so they stay that way. All right, and there's my final answer with a little bit of miscue in there. See, everyone can make mistakes, right? As long as we kind of catch them and understand, we're all good. Okay, so we have less than or equal to. We got those always meeting in the middle. Okay? All right, let's do one last one, and we'll call this lesson good for today. Let's scroll down. I think what we're going to do is, I'll let you guys pick one. Do you want number 4 or number 5? Raise your hand if you want number 4. Raise your hand if you want number 5. Looks like most people said 5, so we're going to solve that one. All right, same deal. I'm going to draw these lines down. I want to get the x all by itself. Okay? This one's a little bit backwards, but really it's a +6 there, right? And these guys are kind of the best friends till the last step. So to get rid of that +6, I'm going to -6. And I have to do it to all 3 sides to be fair. So that gives me a -4. Gives me a -4x left in the middle. And that gives me a 16 left right there. What am I going to do next? I'm going to divide by -4. No big deal. Numbers stay the same. I'm going to be at +1. I'm going to be at -4 out here. And I'm going to just copy paste those ones down, right? If you did that, we've made a mistake. Where did I make the mistake? Well, did we flip the signs? No, we have to flip the signs in this case, right? Why? Because we divided or multiplied, in this case we divided by a negative number. That flips that one around. Otherwise, just like we looked at the other day, it would be a wrong, it would be false. So this one is the right answer right there. Now, if you like, the order on these ones, like it was where, hey, the small number's on that side, we'll go ahead and flip it around, right? This is saying the same thing as long as we remember our like or equal to's and all that stuff. But both those are now the same thing, okay? I prefer to graph this one more, so I'm going to go ahead and do it that way, just because it follows, hey, the small number's on the left hand, the big number's on the right hand. This 4 has a open circle, and the 1 has a closed circle. And I know that every single and problem is going to look like that, meets in the middle. Okay? So there is our 2 correct answers. All right? So that's the end of this shorter lesson. Hopefully you're kind of making sense of it and you're at a 3 or 4 range. If not, we'll just practice some more problems and you guys will get there in no time. So take care.
Mr. Beak's math class. Mr. Beak's math class.